Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host Gibson Johns, and this week on the podcast we have Anisha Ramakrishna from Bravo's Family Karma. Family Karma follows a group of Indian American families in and around Miami. And when this show first premiered, I was so excited about it, along with a lot of other Bravo fans, because although Bravo premieres a lot of different shows, every year, every season, there are very few that feel like they have the staying power of a Real Housewives, of a Vanderpump Rules, of a Summer House. And this was one of those rare shows where the people on the show have pre-existing relationships, they have decades of history, they have a lot of drama, they have, intermingling relationships, and what makes Family Karma even more, amazing is that it has intergenerational stuff. So we're following people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, 50s, even into like grandparent age. And with that just comes so much rich history and so many different things to unpack. And the first season wasn't necessarily like explosive every episode, but it was so promising in sort of like the potential that this show could bring, in season 2 and season 3 and a potential season 4. And so when it got renewed for a second season, I was so happy because it proved to me that Bravo saw that potential in this cast. And I think the cast knows that they have potential and they know they have to bring it. So the first couple episodes of the season have been wild. There was an extremely explosive birthday party. We're getting drama with the moms, so it gives us some of that the Real Housewives vibes, but then it also has a lot of, it really does focus on the 20-somethings and 30-somethings. So it kind of feeds that Vanderpump Rules, Summer House, Southern Charm desire in the viewer. So there's a lot going on, and talking to Anisha, who was kind of like the voice of the people narrator type in the show, was great because she has the best perspective on it. She understands the assignment, as the kids are saying online these days, and she just had such amazing things to say about the show, about what they're doing, about sort of the cast kind of being all in it together in terms of what they want to bring up. And we talked about that. We talked about all the different stuff on the show, but we also talked about sort of the reaction of the rest of the Indian American community in and around Miami. And now there's sort of like a long line of people that want to be on the show, of course, because the show is a hit. We also talked about bringing Indian American heritage and customs and culture to Bravo, a place that maybe not every viewer has been exposed to these different sorts of things. And, what's really, I think, is really amazing about the show, which I already mentioned, which is like, it's intergenerational and it's also intersectional. So we get what the parents want out of their kids, but then what we get is also the kids pushing back on that. And then what we also get is we have 2 full-time gay cast members on the show who also are Indian American. And so the intersectionality of that, of like Indian American culture, the generational differences, and what their sexuality complicates all of that, like it is really a great thing that Bravo is putting out there, and there's a lot to learn. And so I just love Family Karma, and if you're listening to this and you're a big Real Housewives fan, or you love Vanderpump Rules or Summer House, give Family Karma a shot because it has some staying power and it has a lot of potential. I think you'll love this show, and it's really a joy, and it's also really funny to say the least. So anyway, keep listening for an interview with Anisha Ramakrishna, and tune into Family Karma Wednesdays at 9 after the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills on Bravo. And please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so we're here with Anisha Ramakrishna from Family Karma on Bravo. Anisha, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I told you just before we started that I watched Family Karma, I think, when it premiered the first season. So I've been on board since the beginning. I know you're only in the second season, but it's exciting when a new Bravo show comes around that feels like it can be here for a long time.
Yes.
It really has. It has you guys have so much going on, so much going for you. And the chemistry between you guys is so palpable and fun. First of all, I want to hear from you. How did you find out that you guys were getting a second season of the show?
Well, we got a call from Bravo, and they congratulated us, and they told us, I guess during the pandemic, a lot of people watched Family Karma. So
good.
We're very happy, and believe it or not, being Indian, we thought maybe, would we relate to non-Indians? But the amount of non-Indians who watch Family Karma, I mean, that's what's incredible. It kind of brings everyone together.
So that was a worry for you guys, that like maybe like our stories weren't going to be relatable for you. Okay. And I'm so glad that was dispelled pretty quickly for you, because I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I think there are so many things about the show that are distinct to the Indian American community, but like there's so much of it that it is just regular family interpersonal drama, and I think that's what Bravo fans love.
Absolutely, absolutely. And growing up being the only Indian in my school and in my town, Miami, I grew up in a very Latino neighborhood, and so I always felt like maybe people couldn't relate to me, and so
Totally.
now to see all of this feedback, like I think that's the best part about everything.
I'm curious for you. I mean, like, because it would seem as though a show like this would be really new for the community that you're a part of, and sort of the enclave of the Miami area that you're a part of. Like, they aren't used to having reality TV cameras going around everywhere. And I don't know if like before the show or after the first season, was there any sort of like judgment from within in the Indian American enclave that you're a part of, like people who don't want to be associated with the show, or people that maybe were judging you guys for doing it?
Absolutely. We're a very closed culture. You don't see a
Right.
lot of Indians opening up about their personal life. You see a lot of Indians. There's like a billion of us, right? But you see us as doctors, or as engineers, or at a call
Totally.
center, or your T-Mobile
That's the stereotype,
commercial,
right? Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But to see us actually living, drinking, freezing our eggs, kissing, dating, fighting with our in-laws, I mean, that's a whole new world that we're opening up to the viewer and America. And so in the beginning, I think people were hesitant, but we're a community driven culture. So at the end, everyone supported us, but there were a lot of raised eyebrows.
Totally. And I feel like a lot of those kind of differences, or like kind of like the stereotype versus like what you guys are showing, a lot of that I think speaks to sort of like the generational differences that I, at least that I observe on the show. And like, that's a huge, obviously, part of Family Karma, is the differences between your parents and the younger set. Do you find that you guys are sort of having a positive impact on your parents' generation in terms of, bringing more openness to your community?
Yes, because in the process, they've become more open.
Yeah.
And so they have kind of become trailblazers in their, age group. Boomers.
Okay, boomer.
The boomers on our show are thriving and living their best
sure
life.
Are.
And they have a wealth of knowledge and experience. And so if you notice on the show, at the end of the day, we may say whatever we want, but we go to them for advice. And at the end of the day, we want, to know their point of view.
Definitely. Yeah. And I love those moments. What for you personally did you learn, either just from the experience of shooting season 1 and being on a reality show for the first time, or watching it back, that you brought with you into this second season?
Oddly enough, I think you can get that feeling from our show. We don't put up a front for the cameras. The aunties definitely do not, neither do the grandparents. But I will say, I guess, realizing the importance of the platform that we have. So when people ask me, what made you decide to freeze your eggs on TV? Well, I was going to do it anyway, but knowing that it would help a lot of people out there who are minorities and come from these cultures that don't talk about it at all. Like maybe be more mindful and sensitive of those subjects and putting it out there, versus in my actual life, maybe I wouldn't really, I just, glaze over it. But actually diving deep and talking about those topics, or how many people can relate to having in-law drama?
Everyone, right? Literally
and
everyone.
To put that out there, to put that out there on a show, that's deep. So I think what we've decided as a friend group, because I know people say cast, but you're
truly a friend group. Yeah.
With our friend group, is we have made the decision to kind of give you everything. I have a sneak peek of today's episode for tomorrow, and it's kind of rough. There are people crying, and we don't really show that side of ourselves when we're hanging out within the community. You don't see people crying and all that stuff, but we're giving you everything. So I think the decision was made to go big or go bigger.
I like that. Yeah. And it does feel that as though everyone is in it and everyone has committed to that kind of mentality. And And I think you're right. It's like, I mean, you are right, because it's like you guys have grown up together, and it's like we see every episode like these old photos of you guys flash on the screen. It's like
Right.
it's not just one photo. It's not just like, oh, like here's the one photo you were randomly in 5 years ago. Like no, like you guys clearly have been around each other for years and years and years, and I think that just brings more authenticity to what you guys bring to the show.
Absolutely. And, people always talk about, oh, Anish, like your one-liners. I'm like, they're not one-liners. That's how I
That's
talk.
how you talk. I love it.
Yeah.
To me though, Anisha, that means that you're like honestly made for this platform, because like you do have these confessional moments that like, they remind me of the people who have been on like Pump Rules or Real Housewives, that like these one-liners do stick with, and like maybe that is how you talk, but like I think that shows that you, one, are great for this platform, and two, like you're connecting with people who are watching this because they like the humor that you bring, I think.
Yeah. I mean, have you met my mother and my grandfather? Like, look at my genetics.
It was passed down. It sure was.
This is how we talk.
I have to say, like the moment with you you go to visit your grandparents, your grandfather opens the door and like he's like, are the cameras here? Like, and then it's like we have a conversation between him and the producer. Like, one, the fourth wall breaking is happening on all the shows, so we love it. But I think like him just like totally genuinely like just like asking about the producers and then the cameras. Like I loved that. I think that was such a, I don't know, a great little moment for the show.
I love it because talking to a lot of people, they start calling you characters. Like, oh, I love your character. And I'm like, I think breaking the fourth wall, you realize this isn't a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
This is real. And we're not characters. This is exactly what my grandfather would do. You can't, I love that they leave it in there. They don't cut those parts out.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And also it does feel like, I think we got some of those moments last year, and it feels like you guys have like a pretty great bond with the behind the scenes people anyway, like the people that follow you guys around, because it feels like they are very attuned to what you guys are up to and your culture and things like that. And I feel like that again must create this really great just sense of belonging with everyone who's working with you.
It definitely speaks to the Indian culture as well, because, when you're brown, you're going to have everyone over, you're going to feed them. So we eat with them,
I love it.
Do everything with them. Like when they're at our home or they're on a lunch break, like they don't go somewhere else. Like we just
they pull up to the counter.
Yeah. And
That's
we
so
also
fun.
want to work together. I love the way Bravo has told the story.
Yes.
They've been very mindful without like, I've noticed like, to be honest, being Indian, like a lot of the time, you've heard this as well, when you talk about minorities, you see a caricature of the minorities. Sure. And we're just being people. Like we're not making fun of our culture or doing something just for TV. What you're seeing is what Indians do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the way that you guys approach it is like, I think it's just like you said, it's like, Bravo's audience isn't entirely Indian American. So there's a lot of people of different races watching and different cultures watching these shows. And for them to, one, get a better understanding of what Indian culture is like, because I think like, again, like we see the top of the line, like stereotype, like character that you're just mentioning. But like, again, you guys are showing the full human experience. And I think that as that relates to culture, and I think I'm learning a lot. I think I'm sure a lot of other people are learning a lot. Yeah. So that's probably the first thing you can ask for. So I think it's great. Yeah. And were you, going back to your grandma for a second, because he was a breakout star last season, if I'm being honest, like I remember some meals you guys had together. I'm assuming you weren't surprised that he like had a breakout moment on screen.
I wasn't surprised because he's a breakout star in our lives. Everyone is obsessed with him in our life every day to day. Mm-hmm. And so we just wanted the world or America to see that, because he's 0 F's. Like he's telling me I'm dried up at dinner, and he loves me so much. So it's hilarious.
It's the best way to be.
I can only laugh,
What do you, I'm curious for you, because again, like this show is showing so many different ages. We have people in their 20s, you're in your 30s, Bolly's in her 40s. We have your parents who are probably in their 50s and 60s. We have grandparents. I'm curious for you, like, what do you think, what version of you would we have seen if this show was following you around like 10 years ago? Were you in New York at that point? Like, what would that have looked like?
I was in the city. I I would have had a very boring season. I had the cookie cutter life.
Mm-hmm.
I had, a cushy job. I was in a long-term relationship. I had a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
apartment and I was traveling the world. I was living that fake Instagram life.
Right.
It would have been
Totally.
very boring, I think,
Mm.
and that was my life, like it was kind of perfect, but, you know, perfect isn't always what it seems.
Yeah, for sure. And for you, like, when was there a moment for you was it like, was it when your relationship ended or was it when you moved back home? Like, what was the moment for you where you sort of like addressed that in your own life?
Yeah, I realized, I don't want to live a life of checking boxes, which
Mm-hmm.
I've made very clear. And maybe just instead of following tradition and doing what your family wants you to do or what society thinks you should do, really take a look at what do you want for yourself. And at the time, I realized I'm not ready to get married. I don't want to, be at a job till the end of my days. And maybe
Right.
if I'm going to try to do something different, now's my chance at 33,
Mm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of done everything, like check the boxes wise. Maybe go out and try to start a business and do something different. And it kind of all came together. And you see that in season one. It all just happened all at once.
For
And
sure.
you see the spiraling too.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, but again, you show the up and the down, but at the end of the day, I think you embracing that mentality that or that lifestyle change, like it also brought you sort of to this show, and I
Right.
think that's a huge positive and a huge change in your life.
And I want to also speak to everyone out there watching. Even now, I still feel some days like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? And I still feel the need to check boxes. I still feel the need
Right.
I should get married, and that doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but honestly, just acknowledging that
Yeah.
is what you have to do. I would love to talk about the addition of Dylan Patel. So
Yeah.
so so we had Sean in the first season and he was around, but Dylan is making an impact in his first episode that is just like, I mean, he's the center of the drama already. I mean, the premiere was amazing television, first of all, but
Yeah.
and I think that he's also kind of similar to you, like you both kind of pop probably in your everyday lives too, but you're great on camera. And he obviously has this drama with Vishal where he's sort of like the younger brother to a lot of you guys, but I guess what he said were jokes about like, talking about
The
Vishal hooking
Kinsey
up with,
scale.
sure, yeah,
The
and
Richter
like
scale.
whichever it is, we can Google it after. He characterized them as jokes. And first of all, I'm curious because you do know Dylan. Do you think they were jokes, or do you think that was sort of his way of getting Vishal off his back a little bit?
We all joke like that. It was
Okay.
definitely a joke. And, you're going to watch it all unfold for Vishal. But, I will say the MVP, my MVP of Family Karma is Vishal because he has a lot going on all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think it's just another addition to all the burdens he carries. And it's just a lot sometimes. And
Yeah.
I guess one joke was too many. And unfortunately, Dylan got the brunt of it. And Dylan's like a cute little guy and he's super smart and funny. And, I want to carry Dylan around in my pocket every day. But this time it didn't work. It
Right.
wasn't cute and funny for Vishal. I
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was a joke, but the joke wasn't about me.
Totally. But I do think that like, him bringing up violence was probably, I think that the reaction of the rest of the group to that comment that he made was the correct response. I think that like, you and I feel like what's great about you is that you don't kind of mince words. You let Vishal hear it and have it, but then you
Yeah.
also go to support Dylan. So I think that you kind of straddle that line pretty well.
Yeah, it's tough because they're both like family. They're both
Of
my brother.
course.
Dylan's my younger brother. But in this case, I always say you got to pick a side. I never play the fence. And, I aligned with Dylan in this case because
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I'd also never heard Michelle say anything like that. So I knew something's not right.
It was out of character. Right. Totally. So is that going to be a conflict we're going to see going forward between them?
I think you're going to see it unfold
Mm-hmm.
and maybe see the deeper issues, the root of
Got
it
it.
all, right? We
Okay.
like to, like, why that's so random. Why did that happen?
I think the addition of Dylan, he's not the first gay character on the show, but I think that like, again, I keep on praising your show, and I'm not just saying it because I do say this to, like, everyone who listens, like, to watch your show. But I think that having two gay characters on a reality show like this, a docu-series, this reality show, not all Bravo shows have that. And I think that it's really cool, like in and of itself, to have two gay cast members and to highlight that experience.
Yeah.
But then we're also getting the intersectionality of it with the Indian American experience. And that to me is like really groundbreaking, because that's nowhere on TV. Right. And so
I actually said that same exact thing on IG a couple of weeks ago. I said, how lucky am I that I get to be on a show with two people who are part of the LGBTQIA community. And not only are they, men, but they're Indian.
mm-hmm.
They're South Asian. It's crazy to me. I'm like, how lucky are we? And one's, in a relationship, in an interracial relationship, and one is single and mingling, and it's iconic.
It's iconic, and it's really unheard of on TV. And I'm, have you guys, either you or them or the whole cast, have you guys felt that reaction from various communities, like just that people do appreciate the importance of what you guys are showing?
Absolutely, because I don't know how many South Asians are out there living openly, to be honest. Sure. And so this actually helps a lot of people. So many people have messaged Amrit and Dylan that I know of that have just said, wow, you're helping me.
That's just like, that's real, that's actually real impact. And that's, again, I think that one of the first things you said before we started recording was that representation matters. And I think, on a broad level, the show is about the Indian American experience, but when you get even more granular with it, I don't know, it's really special. And I think I'm glad that you guys also appreciate that,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I also love your relationship with Bali. And I think that she is like such another like just fresh, great presence. And she's also a great star on a show. And I think what's so fun about her is that she really does genuinely straddle the kind of line between the parents and the aunties and the cousins and the kids. And then she fits right into both of them very well. And we see that literally in the first two episodes play out right back to back.
It's a tough place to be.
Is that how she is, and is that how it really is for her? And it does she straddle those worlds as well as it looks?
She'll like hang out with us, and then she's like, "I'm gonna go meet your moms." And
we're like,
"Don't tell my mom what I just said."
I was about to ask that. Do you ever worry that she's gonna like kind of send information back and forth?
Initially, I was. Now I'm like, she knows, and I know. She has a separate relationship from us, and she has a separate relationship with the aunties. Yeah, and they're not talking about us.
Okay, but Anisha, in episode 2, they were talking about.
No. I mean, they're not talking about like those things.
Oh, got it. Like
we're talking about Hot Girl Summer and things like that, right? They've got bigger fish to fry.
Totally. So I want to hear more about the parents and how it's, I mean, what it's like sort of filming with them and having them like be totally part of this experience with you guys. Is like, again, that's not something that everyone gets, which is like you go on a reality show and then like your parents are there kind of talking things through you or with you, or your grandparents are there, or in Bali's case, your daughter's there. Like, talk to me about just what it's like to have, it's just so intermingled and so like the world's really
it's the reality.
Like, yeah,
it's the reality. That's how it is. Like we've said, like when we go to a party, everyone's there. And everyone, goes off into their little corners, but at some point everyone's mingling. I'll talk to all the aunties, I'll step aside, I'll talk to, my friend group. You say hi to the elders. I mean, that's exactly how it is. It's like coordinated chaos.
And do you guys know that, like, did you already know that they had their own respective drama, like that kind of is just like yours?
I know they do, but I was, pleased to watch, because for me, I was watching all those parts as a viewer, because we don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
You don't go to the auntie drink nights. Exactly.
Yeah. So I loved episode 2. I loved it because I was watching like all of you.
Do you think that the drama between Vishal and Risha's moms specifically, I'm just curious, that feels like a genuinely deep divide, and it feels like they just don't like each other, as people, and that's obviously a hard place for their kids to be in a relationship, or I guess right now they're not in a relationship on the show. I'm curious, like, again, as your thought, you're as sort of like and essentially a family member of both families, like, what are your thoughts watching that? Because it must be hard to watch that, and because it does affect the bottom line relationship.
I think it's hard to watch because I love them both equally, and they're
Yeah,
such amazing like human beings, and so are their families, and so are both, Auntie Lopa and Auntie Reshma. They're
yeah,
both power queens, and so when I watch, I think, like I said in the last episode, I really just want you guys to work out,
yeah.
like get through this, just get through it somehow. I don't know, but personally for me, and I've said this before, it's a deal breaker
Mm.
because family is very important to me, and I think that's why they still haven't married, because it's a
Mm.
big deal.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, and I think that, like, I mean, their relationship is interesting, I think, to watch, because I think that, like, it's not just, to me, like, at least just as a viewer, it doesn't seem like it's just the parents as the issue, I think, and we heard about that in the second episode a little bit. Um, what can you tease for me in terms of like what we can expect from their relationship, and like, because I think right now it's like, will they, won't they get back together? What can you kind of tell me about that?
I think in season 1, you see a lot of Vishal and Richa and
Yeah.
how that's unfolding. I think in season 2, you're going to see a lot of Vishal, Richa, and their parents
Okay.
together, and things are being talked about.
Okay. Interesting. So they're really addressing the elephant in the room this time,
Right. And
not
I
just
think
ignoring each other.
the viewer wants to see that. And I want to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's not fun when you avoid the topic. Like, we want to either talk it through or talk it to a point where you're not going to get through it. I
Yeah.
think that at the end of it, that's the healthy way to go about it, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's the great thing about this show. You can't brush it under the rug.
mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know about you, but are you a Real Housewives fan? Do you
I
watch
love Real
Housewives?
Housewives.
So I mean,
Yes.
the auntie, I mean, as hard as it is for you to watch, it still gives me a little bit of that same,
Yes.
that the same Housewives
It's that
drama.
female centric issues, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all in that age bracket as well, and everyone's involved. The group.
Everyone's involved. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It every episode brings something new, and I love it.
Yeah.
Um, so another relationship, love triangle, love square is Brian and the Monicas. Which Monica do you think is Brian's soulmate? I'm gonna ask you that.
I don't know who Brian's soulmate is, but I know her name's Monica. He likes a lot of Monicas, and what a lot of people don't know is the two on the show aren't the only ones that have been named Monica. I'll leave
Okay.
it at that. He has a thing for Monicas.
Okay, so Brian's type is just Monica. Anybody named Monica. Okay.
Absolutely.
But you don't think that maybe, I don't know, that
I have to watch like you. I don't know. I don't know what they did, right? So like I'm watching that relationship the same way you are.
Uh-huh. Totally. You're playing it coy, and I like it. I think you're
No, because like in those like parts where like they're with their family and the coconut, like I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this: in this second season, while you were filming, were your thoughts different about it? Like, did you think that that he had a better dynamic with one or the other?
Oh, I think he was, really into Monica, Dr. Monica, because
Yes,
it's like new and fresh.
for sure.
And maybe now that, Monica Waswani is with Rishi, I can't picture her with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
because she's
Yeah,
in a
for
relationship.
sure.
So I think I like seeing Dr. Monica and Brian.
Okay. I love it. I think they're really cute together, and especially at the end of his birthday party, like she's holding the cake, and
They're hot.
Yeah, they're a hot couple.
They're
I mean,
hot.
I love it. So, I mean, I'm curious for you, just like generally with this whole experience. I mean, being on Bravo, especially, I mean, reality TV in general, but Bravo especially, the fan community, the blog community, the podcast community, all around it is very supportive, intense, that we dissect everything. And it comes to the territory of being on a show like this. And I think it's like, I've seen family karma discussed in a lot of these different places, which is great, because it means that you're kind of being accepted into this framework and into this world. But also there's another side to that, which is like, you know, sometimes it's not fun to be dissected, or sometimes it's not fun to get some of that, you know, unsolicited feedback. How are you dealing with that whole aspect of being on a reality show, and how do you sort of stay, or try to stay, sort of like head on your shoulders?
I think you've seen the moms and the aunties, right? Like we have a very strong foundation.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for me, what matters is what my friends on the show, my castmates think about me, and my family. Mm-hmm. So if there's a blog or there's an article and it might not be in, you know, the best light, I'm not worried, because it's not in that circle. And that's kind of how I decided to go on in this, you know, platform. I've just decided, if it's not, you know, someone from the show or my family, then I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, that's you clearly have a thick skin, because not everyone can say that, I think. And so that's
well, we're brown. I mean, our aunties trolled us throughout our lives.
you were prepared for this moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're thinking about sort of like, I mean, I want the show to go on for a long time. And if you're thinking to sort of like, you know, a potential third season, fourth season, one, I'm curious, like we talked at the beginning about how some people didn't accept the show at first and they sort of judged the show. But I'm willing to bet that there are probably some people that want to get on the show now, you know, like they saw how the first season went.
When you're the pioneer, you're the guinea pigs, right? Like no one wants to be on board. And then when they see, you know, the accounts and, you know, the love and all the good things, you know, people, of course, that's what happens.
So is there a line of people that you could think of that probably would, you know?
Probably. Yeah. I think there's already like so much.
Oh, I know. I know. I mean, I'm not
1,000 people on this show.
It's hard to keep track of everyone. It's like it's 4 different generations of people.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just knew, I kind of just figured that there was probably so many people that wanted to join, but I think that you guys, I think the cast is great right now. And I think that, you know, there's such it's such an interesting, complicated dynamic. And I think it's so great what you guys are putting out there. So, but before we end, what can you sort of tease for the rest of the season for us? I mean, we talked about specific things, but what about for you?
I think you're going to see a lot of dynamics and friendships that you didn't know were there.
Okay.
Like amazing. Different people in the group hang out with each other, and that maybe didn't come across on season 1, and you'll see it in season 2.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, Anisha, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. Where can people follow you or listen to you outside of this interview?
If you can spell my name, honey, it's at Anisha Ramakrishna Instagram. That's where I'm most active.
Love it.
And on Bravo on Wednesdays at 9 p.m.
Family Karma, get into it. I'm already into it, so join us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Anisha. It was great to meet you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you so much for listening. For more celebrity interviews, subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you heard, please rate and review us, as any show of support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow In The Know at In The Know on Twitter and at Watch In The Know on Instagram. We'll talk to you next time.